Okay. Hi. So, I'm here. I'm in Paris, around Paris, and I'm alone. Also, I'm really sick. Um, I stupidly got sick my first week here, and I was watching a video about loneliness. I'll link the video down below. I think it was by J-Reg, but it kind of got me thinking, like, intellectualizing my own loneliness, and I thought I want to talk about it because I can. Um, so please excuse the sick voice. Yeah, and I literally like was in and out of sleep, and because I sleep during the day and I'm awake during the night because of jet lag, I was like, I need to do something about this. Make myself stay up during the day so I don't muck myself up even more. This generation's understanding of loneliness, I feel like, is very specific to this generation. And that goes without saying, but I think the things that we are dealing with now and how we intellectualize them, I think can sometimes negatively impact the way we go about connections moving forward. And I think COVID helped a lot of people out, including me, but I keep on going back to the question of why there's times where I feel so lonely when I don't need to be, And there's countless other videos probably that talk about this over time with the rise of social media and here and that, but I think I'm just talking from like a more humanistic perspective, from a more of like understanding people and understanding ourselves, because there's so much times where I feel the most lonely when I wasn't necessarily alone. And I'm alone right now. And I think that is something that I really wanted to challenge myself to do, to be alone, because I think it's one thing to like be alone in a physical sense, right? Isolated from other people. But I think it's alone to feel alone in a place, in a community where it doesn't really, you don't belong. You're obviously an outsider. You can't really connect on a level. And yeah, but I don't really feel that way here. And I find it that, you know, I really push myself to say hello to everyone because I think it's a polite thing to do. And also, like, for some reason, back where I'm from, I would get hella anxiety saying hello to people or strangers on the street. I know this is purely a me thing, but I don't know if it's because, like, I grew up in New York and it's just like I'm not really used to saying hello to people on the street like that, but I would be walking around in my neighborhood and I'll take a walk and like I feel pressured to like say something even if I don't really want to. And here, I like kind of force myself to say hello because of course like I was like, all right, I'm in another country, like I can't really just keep on going around the American way. And people say hello back, and I think like it's like small things like that that kind of remind me that I'm still connected to a greater half of humanity, that I'm not all alone. But let's come back to this in a second. Let's talk about pure loneliness for a young adult, an individual. I think there's so much that can come out of being alone, but I feel like a lot of people don't really see it as a good thing, right? There is like instant gratification. We are surrounded by content and ads and things that kind of shove down our throats. And it's kind of like you're looking at everything all day, you know? You're looking at this, you're being fed constantly someone's ideas, someone's information, someone's something, that when you're alone with your thoughts, it's kind of like you're not really like equipped to deal with all the stuff that's going in your head, because whatever you're feeding in, something's coming out, you know? It's not like we're thoughtless. Like there is thoughts going around constantly. And when you kind of hold that back, or like at least like put a wall up, you know, when you're digesting content or whatever, put that wall up. Like it's just like, I feel like when the quietest times of night, it comes down and it all comes out, it all comes back. Like the thoughts are all there and you're like, what am I gonna do? Like, what the hell? Like, there's so much thoughts, and you want to distract yourself again, and there's like this cycle. So, I think, and like, I know there's a lot of people that could relate to this because this isn't really unique to me. And I find it like I used to be so caught up with the fact that why is it that I feel lonely? And why is it that I am the one that feels the most despairing out of it? I have friendships in my life, but I feel like a lot of the time that they weren't, it was like one-sided in the way of like I needed them more than they needed me. Like I had people in my life that I really like, we enjoyed each other's company, but they, you know, had their own lives, right? Like whether it be like relationships or like other commitments, they had their own lives and they were obviously pretty satisfied and content. And I feel like I was picking up straws and I was trying to look for someone, as I guess, that needed a connection as much as I did, so I didn't feel like I was grasping at straws and just kind of like being the person that needed someone, you know? Because that's a sucky feeling to be at, to feel. Like when you feel like you need someone and it's just like not reciprocated the same. Because it just kind of gets to this awkward level of like, dang, like, dang. And it just becomes like, I don't know, it's just not fair, right? And so I guess a lot of what I was dealing with before could be in the lieu of like codependency, but it wasn't that. Like it wasn't like I was codependent on the people, um, friendships, relationships in my life. It's not really that. It's more that like the feeling of loneliness was something I felt so deeply, and I just didn't want to feel it anymore. Like I spent so many years being by myself, and I was like, I'm really tired of feeling like this. And I had, I have anxiety, so it was, hard for me to put myself out there in the first place, but I really pushed myself to, so I can get in a place of being with people. Like even being lonely with people was such a better option than just being alone, because like I guess with being alone there isn't really hope for things to change. It's like things will always be the way that it is because it's you, you know? And I think I had this core belief that if I wasn't externally shaken up, that I would not grow. And I think that's true to an extent, but I will not grow, I will not change, and my circumstances and everything surrounding me, how miserable I am, will not really change if I'm not shaken up by someone else or something else. Following this level of thought, I guess, mindset, I did chase and crave connections before I actually can crave like quality, the quality of it. And I think that led me into kind of a spiral of feeling even more alone in ways I didn't really understand, but not really because I didn't feel understood necessarily, but more that my need for connection was not as strong. And I think that's when I hit the level of like, or the I thought I missed my peak. I'll just put it like that. I thought I missed my peak. Like, I went to community college, but COVID happened. It was in that time where I was like trying to prove something to myself, and so it was a disaster, I guess, in my own head. And I like struggled a lot, not only because I didn't feel intellectually seen, but also I didn't feel seen at all. And I think that's the thing that COVID kind of, it like did, well, two things. I didn't feel seen, but I also did. Like, I was the kind of person that couldn't really raise my hand in the class. For whatever reason, I was like kind of scared that people would mock me for my answers. And I just kind of like, on Zoom, you just press a button. And it was a lot more easy to push myself to do that than actually physically raise my hand in class and be like, hey, come me. And then you see everyone's eyes on you and they're like, ugh. It's my peak. And I feel like everyone around me had their groups, had their place, had their connections, whereas I didn't. I was a part of the pack of people that didn't, I wasn't in I wasn't in an environment where I grew up with the people around me, or everybody I knew in high school kind of moved out, and they made friends in college, where else I stayed back home and I was alone. And like I kind of resented myself for not choosing a more ambitious college thing like everyone else, because I didn't want to have that experience. I wanted to do all these things, these crazy things, and have these crazy stories. And like, I just wanted and I craved friendship and connection so badly that it hurt. But over time, I realized if it's not from a genuine place, then it's something that I guess doesn't really help. And I guess fast forwarding a little today, I jump back and forth a lot. I kind of learn, mostly through like TikTok and stuff like that, there is a lot of people that are like me that didn't really have that life or that like social circle, that friendship, and they like, I guess, growing up or even in their like really late teen, early adulthood, and that are kind of craving and searching for that now. And I feel like in that place, seeing all of that content did make me feel seen and understood and heard. But I also I dealt with it differently. And I think that's the thing that I kind of resented, maybe, in a way, because I dealt with it differently. I kind of internalized it, blamed myself, and kind of moved on. But for a lot of people, they understood that it wasn't on them, but they just still crave it. And that's when I asked myself, at least now, like, why is it so many people are in this place right now? Because like, I think I'm a genuine person. I do think like I'm a good person, and I find it that I was alone a lot. And I don't have a problem, opening myself up now. I don't have a problem with like making new connections as bad as I did before. But I think before I was just as willing as I am now. It just was like the right people just weren't around, and I was just as willing. But like, what is it? And like, with so many people wanting the same thing, like, what is the disconnect? What is the thing that doesn't fit? If we're all looking and craving connection, like, why aren't we more nice to each other? Yeah, why aren't we more polite, more kind, more understanding of each other's circumstances. This is kind of like based off of that TikTok of the Strangers Project and that one person's letter, because that really touched me. And that's something I question myself every day. And I used to question myself all the time when I was like, during COVID, before, when I was alone. Like, when I told you, like, I was alone, like, bro, I was alone, bro. I grew up in the Bronx. I didn't have any real friends besides one. We used to play Build a Bear together. And like, she was the type of person who had like sisters and like a bigger family. And so she was kind of like, when she was off doing somewhere, I was virtually alone. I'd walk to school alone, I'd get home alone. Like, I didn't have anybody I can turn to. Of course, I had classmates and acquaintances, but it was different. And so I didn't really have like regular friends, not until like I like moved schools. But for that part of my life, like, I understood, this is how I understood how life is. It's just you, and you're going forward and you're going back. And I think, like, in truth, there is a level to that. But I do think that a lot of people, I don't know, are like raised in a way to value the longevity of connections and the ones that they have made in their life previously, than to seek out new ones. And I don't think this is necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. It just is what it is. And I can rant about this all day and whine about this all day. And like, for some people, it's like, what? There's not a problem. Like, I find it so easy making friends, and it's like, dang, that's good for you. But I wish that were me. And I know there's so many other people like me that feel this way, that you're like, how is it so easy for you? But I have struggled time and time again. Even just wanting it isn't enough. And I think that's like the whole picture here. Like, the whole, yeah, like the theme, if you will. Like, when wanting loneliness is not, or when wanting connection isn't enough. You know, besides the fact that you have to put yourself out there and all this stuff, it's like, it shouldn't be that hard, right? It shouldn't be that hard. And yet there are people that feel so alone, that feel like they can't be loved, or that there is no one out there to understand them, and like walk life in this path, not resisting, or but kind of hesitant, kind of like pessimistic about it moving forward. And I know, because that was me. And like, that saddens me so much, because I feel like that isn't true, and I know in my heart it is. But it's so hard to like fight that when you're already in that place, I guess, because it's not easy. It's like, when you live like that, it's not really easy that like, stranger are not gonna go out of their way to convince you that life is worth living. But yeah, like, I get that feeling. And I think that's how, like, the rise of incel culture, or like all these kind of, I don't know, like turfs, all these, like, just these special groups that are born out of like lack of social interaction with a specific group. I think that's really where it stems from, this genuine fear of never having someone understand you, and just being completely understood. And so yeah, an age of why we're all so much more connected. Why we are floating away? Why do we like, yeah, why do we ghost? Why are we like this? Why are we so eager to protect ourselves, then put a single toe out there to maybe, may or may not help other people, or at least connect with them? Because you can find connection in every corner of the world, right? If you're open to it, you know, because people, like, you know, when you walk out the street, they are you, you are them. And I do think that that isn't talked about enough, you know. When you think making friends at school, we think, oh, making friends at school, even though there's so many opportunities everywhere to do that. And like, I think the way that, I'm not blaming the media, but I know the media's portrayal of how high school works or college works, or like how connections are made, like, I do think it is a little, I guess, damaging in the way of like having expectations, and the expectations not feeling fulfilled, not being fulfilled, and you feeling like shit for it and feeling like you're the problem. So I like, as beautiful as I think it is to have connection and just be kind to everybody, I do think there is a beauty in loneliness, and there's a beauty in really sitting in that, in like, not in a I don't know, like, not in a like kind of like a spiritual kind of way or that way at all, but I think like being lonely, being alone kind of helps you understand what you value to an extent. No, I think it helps you understand what you value. And even the people that crave connection, I think for me, craving it is enough. I think to want it is enough. I think putting yourself out there kind of goes with craving it naturally. Like, I don't think if you crave it, you're gonna stop yourself from opening yourself up to connection, right? But I do think that, like, with wanting, I do think being alone, like, nothing is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong with wanting a connection, wanting a whole lot, or wanting just a one person to understand you completely. Like, I think this is within this kind of nature, and I think it's even more tapped into with this digital age, and like with the rise of parasocial relationships as well. Like, you see there is so much more people that crave this kind of human contact, human connection, this kind of honesty, this realness, because I don't think we get that enough. And I think a lot of people are more willing to be kind, like to be nice and to be polite, than they are to be real and authentic and vulnerable. And like, sometimes the world hurts and rejection hurts and it sucks. But I think at the end of the day, if you are working towards an understanding that you're doing everything in your power, taking, even if it's like a millimeter of a step, to do something about being lonely, then I think that is in its own the big thing here, like the amazing thing. And like, I do think there's so many ways that one person can feel alone depending on the perspective they have and experience they have, you know. They break up with an ex, they feel alone, but they have all these friends. Like, it really is a thing of like checking yourself and checking that if you are completely utilizing all the connections in your life, you know, if there's any connection that you can deepen in your vicinity, your thing that you can do in your control to make your day just a little better. You know, asking how someone's day is, you know, these little things. And it's like, I don't know. I don't mean to get in the self-help spiel, but I do think these are like the little ways that like make a difference and that aren't that major, you know, because it just bothers me to know that. Like, I'm like, if y'all are lonely, then like, you know, come on. And I really was like that. Like, and I know kind of ways I still am, but you know, like saying hello with people on the street and them saying hello back, like a part of me does feel a little better. Like, I feel like my existence is here. Like, I'm seen, I exist. And I think that's a thing with me, that I just don't want to be invisible. As long as I know that, I'm like, everything else is easier. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you related to any of this. If you did, please let me know. I think it'd be really nice to know if someone did, because I don't know, like I thought that I kind of, for a long time, I felt like I was the only one. And there's nobody in my circle that I knew that really related to this level of loneliness, I feel. Because, bro, I feel it so deeply, like, rooted in my being, in my bone, my arteries. Like, I felt all alone, and it just sucks. But I think loneliness, rather than is void of connection, is void of, I guess, void of connecting with maybe like reality a little bit. And I do think we aren't really alone, but it's really easy to feel like that. And I really hope that if you could take away anything, it's really, I guess, understanding what loneliness means to you, and understanding, I guess, what to do with that. And yeah, I mean, even though I mostly wanted to intellectualize loneliness and break it down as to why it's so big, I don't know. I feel like there's enough of that. And I guess it's more understanding like what to do with it, and how, I don't know, it can be broken. Yeah, it's the kind of content I do when I'm sick. But I don't know, maybe there'd be more videos like this of me just talking and ranting and just spinning ideas in my own head, thinking out loud, because this is kind of what it felt like, but it was really relieving. Oh my god. If you like that, subscribe. Like this video. Yeah. Anyone knows a good place to eat in Paris, please let me know too. Because the KFC here ain't hidden the same. But thanks for watching. Have a good day.